suspicions, the flavor, what the fruit that's picked up from the vine. Serve the axle's weakness, hold weights. What's the axle's weakness, hold weights. Decide it's time to fan the flame. With fear running round, you're the weapons of his hate. Decide it's time to fan the flames. He ducks and he shivers and he doesn't know this thing. Decide it's time to fan the flames. There's nothing, nobody can do. Always is not and nothing.
Hello, and how you doing? Welcome to the Roosta Show. This is Roosta Jones. Today we have that Flattery, and they are from UK. They are a post-punk band from UK. In America, it's pretty much more like punk rock. So it's a unique sound. It's a wonderful band, and so it's great to have them here today. What is?
Oh, hang on. We're being.
Hello?
Are we there? Yeah, are we doing it?
Cheers.
Hi.
Hey, man, you ready?
Hey, good to have you guys.
Oh,
Welcome to the Roosta Show.
how are you
hear me
doing?
all right?
We just about. Can you hear?
Yeah, I
Testing,
can hear
testing.
probably just through one channel. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Good. I've got a bit of
it's a bit like
Testing.
something going on.
You only got it through one channel, one side.
yeah. It's we've got a very dodgy headphone splitter kind of thing, if you know what I mean. So it's going through just one channel each. If you know what I mean?
Got it. Well, welcome, guys.
Yeah.
We have
Hello.
Flattery here today, and so tell me about you guys. How long you been around? How did you get started?
5 years now. Been around 5 years. Well, Rob and I have been friends for nearly 10 years now, sir.
Yeah, getting on for about 10 years. We've been in different bands in and around the city for quite a few years now, but never sort of crossed paths musically in that respect. And then Paul one day sort of called me up and said, "Will I play some bass for him?" And that's how I joined the band. It was literally a phone call. Can you join my band, please, Rob? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah. So I'm in.
That's awesome. And you guys are in the UK.
Yes, yeah. Based in the East Midlands, a city called Lincoln.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, real quick, I didn't even get both of you guys' names. I'm Rooster, obviously.
Yeah, good man.
So go ahead. What's your name, buddy?
Paul.
Paul.
Paul. Yeah.
Yeah, my name's Rob.
Nice to meet you, Paul and Rob. Wonderful. And you were going to say something, Paul?
I was just going to say our parents named us with single syllable names, so that like if they need to tell us off, like when we were like being naughty, we didn't have to like kind of shout the like it's just like one word, one sound.
Oh,
Rob,
yeah.
stop it!
Get off that thing.
Yeah, pretty much. That was my entire childhood.
That's funny. That's so funny. Bat Flattery. How did you get that name? That's kind of funny.
So it was mostly just being at work one day. One of the nurses I work with handed me a thermometer and just said, "Can you just check that?" And I have this thing where sometimes if I'm really tired, I have a little bit of stammer and a bit of a speech impediment, and my brain wasn't working the one day. And instead of saying, "Oh, it's got a flat battery," I just said it's got a bat flattery. And it was kind of one of those things where I thought, "Oh, that's a really good band name," you know, like out of my embarrassment. You got to make your embarrassment count for something, haven't you? Really, so.
And I said about getting a phone call saying, "Oh, Rob, can you play some bass for my band?" The way the phone call went was, "I've got a really good name for a band, and I want to start a band. Can you play bass for it?" And I kind of went, "Yeah." And then we sort of had a few weeks of going, "What kind of music should we play?" We've got a band name. We've just not got anything else.
It's quite nice.
So funny.
Sense, yeah.
So you had no tracks or nothing like that. You just started off of the name of the band.
No, to be fair, Paul had been writing. Paul has been a songwriter for quite a long time, and he had a few things kicking about that actually we still play now in our live set. A lot of the songs, certainly in the early days, are very short. Some of them are under a minute long, because a lot of them were kind of based on ideas that we had. And then once we'd gotten the idea down, we realized actually that alone is a kind of a pretty cool song.
Yeah.
So we just we kind of kept it like that. Yeah.
We had a friend who started like rehearsing with us at the start of the band. He's called Frank, and he plays in loads of different bands and loads of different genres. He's like really like a melting pot. And he just has such how can I say, like he's got like such an enthusiasm to play like anything. Like, you know, he'd tell him to pick up any instrument, so I'll give that a go. And he wanted to play drums, and he said, the thing is, lads, I can't play drums. Oh, I could, but then like we're like, so why do you want to be a drummer? And he's like, well, I can play it for about a minute. So I'm thinking, all right, so we're gonna write songs for about a minute then. And then we kind of actually did craft the songs. So like it would be like a big burst of like drums and then a little bit of a pause, because we knew at that point that Frank would just be like, just give me a minute, and then like just carry on. But to be fair, like the few practices we had, he actually took to that quite well, didn't he? You know, yeah. And then we had Alan, who was our second drummer, who was with us for quite a long time. And then we had Plarman just until recently. Then we had Alan again for a gig.
Yeah, so that was really nice actually. Our not our original drummer, but the first drummer, I suppose you could say, our first proper drummer who we gigged with and who we recorded with first. He came back. He drove about 3 hours to do a one-off gig with us because we were a drummer down. So that was really, really kind of him, and we were sort of nervous because he's not played with us for about 2 years. We had a last minute rehearsal the weekend before, and then he drove over for about 3.5, 4 hours straight after finishing work to the city we were playing, which was Nottingham, and he nailed it. He did absolutely perfect. So that was really, really cool.
That is awesome.
We've just lost the drummer actually. Yeah, we've just lost our most recent drummer, a guy called Plum, and he's been with us for about a year. Nothing personal, absolutely an amazing drummer, an amazing person, and a good friend. But it wasn't for him. He wasn't for us, and so we're now we're in the early days of sorting out a new drummer. Okay. We've got someone who we like very much, and that's, you know, we're going ahead with that guy now. Yeah.
I notice how you guys call yourself post-punk, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, because in America, your sound is almost more punkish. How Americans look at it, it's kind of a more aggressive sound than just the average post-punk. It's a unique sound.
I think one of my like big influences, and I found like one of the promoters we work with in London is like he's part of a band called Grey Market, and they are very influenced by, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of like the Scandinavian punk, post-punk, like artists like Ice Age and like Hands of Dust and things like that. They are very that stuff. If you listen to it, it's really, as you say, it's kind of like borderline sort of noise rock, if you know what I mean. And like and I mean, I remember going to see Grey Market at like a gig and then thinking I really want to play in a band like that, and that kind of like really inspired me to like sort of like write music, like, pardon me, like that sort of style. I mean, like in terms of American bands, I mean, we kind of go back. I mean, I love like sort of like the Discord kind of post-punk bands like Jawbox and things like that. Like they're like big influences on us, and we are big and At the Drive-In fans, which in a way you can kind of call like post-punk-ish to an extent, you know.
When I think of post-punk, I think post-punk as a genre is massive. It's a bit like
it actually is,
hardcore as a genre. So initially, some people you say post-punk and they might think sort of Depeche Mode or similar. Some people you say post-punk. My brain goes to like post-hardcore, so bands like At the Drive-In and Fugazi and that sort of thing. That to me is my sort of idea of post-punk. But it makes for some interesting billing. Actually, we did a sort of a thank you post on Instagram a few weeks ago to a post punk artist called Claudia Blackstar, who sort of helped us along in the early days of us starting by just sort of verbal encouragement and kindness over Instagram. And she's classed as post punk, and she is like the exact opposite of us. Like if we were on a bill together, it would be a really weird bill because she's very, very synth, very goth, very kind of minimalist. More actually, probably along the lines of the music that you sent me that you'd done. Actually, and on paper we go together because we're in the same genre, but we're actually very, very different bands.
Yeah, gotcha. I noticed that on iTunes you have an EP and like 3 singles. Is that pretty much basically what you have, or do you have another album like on Bandcamp or something like that? Or
we've got 2 EPs. I don't know if one's not made it to iTunes. So there's an EP, our first EP called Clap City. I know they're all on Spotify, even though that's the devil at the minute.
Okay, yes, it is. It's right here. I see it.
Okay,
cool. Yeah. It's listed under a single.
Oh,
fair enough. That's okay. I suppose it is 3. That's a good example of our early songwriting because it's 3 tracks long, but I think it's about 7 minutes long.
Yeah.
So yeah, it probably would be classed as a single. Yeah, that makes sense.
No. 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Wow.
Okay. Wow.
To be fair, actually, our first 2 EPs, we had as our original set for our live shows. And I think the first gig we played, we kind of thought, it felt really long, but like people were like, is that it? They wanted to hear more songs. But we can't. Sorry.
People were really cool about that, though. Actually, it was. I think because we've only got like 10 minutes worth of music, even though that is still 6 or 7 songs. We've only got about 10 minutes worth of music. Gotcha. The best way to do it is to just basically play it like one long piece of music, not stop and just be relentless from start to finish. Kind of, I guess, a bit balls to the wall. Get it done, and then get off stage again, kind of thing. And people responded really well to that. People were really kind. And genuinely positive about our music, which was really nice.
We've got to about 35 minutes now, haven't we, for an entire set?
I think if we played everything that we've got, if we played our long set, we're probably on about 40 minutes. But that's nearly, I think that's about 17 or 18 songs.
Yeah.
So,
wow. I played one time for 3 hours straight.
Okay, that's cool. Artist. Yeah.
And I was hosting a open mic at a bar. Yeah. And no one decided to show up. No one.
Oh, man.
And so I'm like, I'm here, I'm playing. So I just played it. I only repeated 2 songs.
Yeah.
That's good. The very first 2 songs that I started off with, I ended with them because I just, they wanted to hear more and I just didn't know what else to play. So I'm like, okay, I'll go back to the beginning, I guess. Because the crowd the crowd changed. So it was like, ugh. But okay, so what is your purpose for Bat Flattery? What's your guys' overall idea with this band? What do you want to say?
In terms of our message, do you mean?
Yes. What kind of message you want to get across?
So originally, a lot of the songs were quite political. I mean, I don't know if you follow UK politics, but like the last 5 years were a bit of a shambles, if you know what I mean. And there was
here. Horrible.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, I think everywhere, to be fair, at the moment. I think that's another thing as well. We wanted to write songs which were quite universal. So we didn't want it to be a bit like the Smiths, where we're writing things that only that niche crowd of British people would get, if you know what I mean. But even though that has a bit of mystique, like worldwide, if you know what I mean, like looking at universal themes that we can kind of look at. And we kind of took that. And originally it was kind of lockdown music, which it was for a lot of people, if you know what I mean, like putting the ideas down and thinking, I don't know if people are going to really translate to this. As Rob said, a lot of people, as they say, the kids love it. The kids love it, and we love it too. And but I think just recently, we've become a bit more experimental, haven't we? And even not just experimental on music, but like in the way we book gigs. We're starting to kind of like find that footing now, where we're not just kind of messing around and praying that we'll get a gig. We're kind of thinking to ourselves, we can take this further. You know, we had that sort of what I call like a 10 gig rule. We have like a 10 gig rule originally, where you can kind of make all the mistakes you like during your first 10 gigs, and then you kind of you get laser focused and think, what's your goals? What do you want to do for yourself? And we've well surpassed that now. We're not like on our 30th show like now, aren't we? Like
I don't know.
Yeah.
But we've a lot. We've played a fair shows now. Yeah.
And I think like literally, I think we just got to that point now where now we're kind of like concept album. Concept album about wizards and about the trees and things like that. Maybe so. Like who knows?
So Paul is the primary songwriter for the band, and lyrically, Paul is. We actually did a podcast specifically about songwriting and lyric writing a few months ago. Me and Paul write lyrics very, very differently. I have a vague idea of what I might want to say, but I when it comes to putting pen to paper, I'm terrible. I have to really, really.
It's hard to get it out.
Yeah,
get it out of your head. The idea. Yeah, I got you. Because I love, obviously I love songwriting too. So I understand that sometimes it's just hard to exactly get it 100% right on paper or through your music. You know what I mean? I mean, sometimes. I mean, there's some songs that I still love. That I wrote that I have a hard time wanting to play because they don't sound right yet.
Yeah, sure.
They sound generic. They sound just blah. There's no life in them, So I understand what you're getting at. Go ahead, Rob. Sorry about that.
No. That's cool. And Paul will turn up at a band practice with some beautifully written lyrics printed out, and some an idea for my bass, an idea for drums, his guitar part perfectly, and I kind of go, fuck. I can't do that sort of thing. Like I'm really jealous of the way Paul comes across with his music, and therefore the messages that Paul wants to convey are always really eloquent. Whether it's a political song, whether it's about a frustration of people being assholes in town, or if it's Paul's written songs about his favorite books and literature as well, which again I'm supremely jealous of. Actually,
that's because I've got nothing to write about, Bob, and I'm a bit of a sued. What was Newton said about standing on the shoulders of giants? Like that's what you can do at the end of the day.
Man, get you. Yeah. You got to be careful though when you go talking about politics, because it does cause division. So when you do talk about it, are you coming about it in a neutral way? Down the middle, where both sides are pretty much messed up. Left
pretty much, right?
Both sides certainly are messed up. I think sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I there was a bit of lag, and I didn't know you were speaking. So you go ahead. Okay,
yeah, I was just saying that because if you choose one side, it seems like it causes division. Is all I'm getting at, and so it's life in general. We can focus in on ideas and subjects that are political without making it necessarily political. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
a lot of
that's the way you're trying to go about it.
I mean, it showed how ridiculous everybody's leaders were in the world.
Oh, horrible!
When it came to COVID, and then you thought that these people that they had your back, if you know what I mean, and literally they didn't. And I think that our first EP, Clap City, was mostly about that sort of that. Just literally, as you say, it doesn't matter which political side it is. No one really had a plan to sort it out, and you thought, guys, come on, we've invested time and money and faith in you. Please deliver, And I think there was a bit of a generational thing. The song Clap City that we had was mostly about like witnessing a lot of younger people literally looking to older people for guidance and not getting that guidance, just getting a don't leave me alone, I'm busy. When I was your age, I could deal with all this kind of nonsense, that sort of thing. And you don't need to do that with younger people, you know, because everybody starts off really scared. Everybody starts off there trying to figure themselves out. And I think that's what the Clap City thing, like literally like the Ostinato, which like rolls around like kids running scared from scary kids. That's what it was. It's just basically a snowball of watching, and it's just going to be a repeating vicious cycle where people, that's if you continue that sort of like that sort of venom, that it's just going to create another elderly generation who are just going to take it out on their children and vice versa, you know, like constantly, you know. And I think that's where
it has done that actually ever since COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, people have been getting more crazier. It seems like life has just been more hectic. It's more weird. Prices are over the roof, and I mean, just but a lot of mental disease going on, I think. And it's really sad. It's sad because I have a lot of love for the general people, you know, in general, because I love God. I do. And I believe that we're all created wonderfully. We're all beautiful in his eyes, you know, whether you would believe it or not, but that's all right. But I do.
No, it's a fair point. Yeah.
It's just that's what I'm trying to say is we all have something to offer to this world, you know. We can't be shut down, certain people, you know. I mean, we can't be being offensive, you know. We can't be but also at the same time, you know, we gotta use our common sense that we've been given.
I think as well that's the thing with lyrics as well. If you write lyrics to the point where you're just berating people, you know, like, I mean, we kind of grew up. I like this. I like sort of like the rhythms and the energy of like some of the straight edge bands, if you know what I mean. Like when I was growing up, like totally. Like youth of today, but when you kind of like,
awesome,
but even like Ray Kappa will be saying that
for Laura too, and all
like
that.
like they're too belligerent to the point where like literally people would just be walking out feeling like they're being patronized, marginalized in lyrics, and you don't want to do that. You want to kind of just it's fun at the end of the day. Going to shows should always be fun. Should always be an escape from what you're suffering from outside. You should be able to leave it at the door, come in, see friends from whatever side walk of life, if you know what I mean, and just get on and just have a good time. You know what I mean? It's as cliche and ridiculous as it sounds. That's what it needs to always be about, really. So that's why the politics is there for enough to people to grasp and kind of get the frustrations out, but you don't want to get it to that point where it becomes too antagonistic, because then there's just going to be friction.
Oh, totally. I love the way you said that. So has there been many challenges for your band since you started till now? I mean, has it been a challenge keeping the band afoot?
There's been times when it's been more difficult, certainly. I think like I mentioned earlier, one of the bigger challenges has been being able to keep a drummer for a substantial amount of time. And,
gotcha.
And so look, we're quite lucky in the respect that there's been no fallouts, there's been no nastiness. It has purely been a case of our first drummer moved to York, our second drummer moved to London, our third drummer just not for him, kind of thing. So it's been tricky sort of getting somebody consistent in that respect. But having said that, all the drummers that we have worked with have been fantastic. There's been no bitterness. There's been no. I like to think we're pretty easy people to get on with anyway. And you know, I'll not speak for myself because we've all got things about, you know, in our personalities that probably wind people up. And I am probably no same when it comes to, you know, getting on people's nerves. But in the respect of being in a band with Paul. And in being in a band with the other people who have been in the band, I couldn't have asked for better band members, because they've always been very sort of understanding and kind and genuinely the best people, which I think is so important. Because again, I've been in bands with people who have not been so kind and not been so good to be in the band with. Some people very, very much come to mind when I think of that, and it's awful. The reason that making music in a group is because we're supposed to be enjoying it and we're supposed to be liking what we do.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and it's been no point in being in that Flattery has been a chore because we've made it that way.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's one of the biggest lessons you guys learned so far in your band? One of the biggest lessons.
McDonald's is king.
McDonald's makes the car smell.
Oh.
We generally
pretty much.
Generally I tend to drive purely because I've kind of got the bigger car out of the three of us and get all three members plus all our gear in my car. And on the way back from a show, we'll tend to. It could be we'll look at probably playing up to 4 hours away without staying over, sort of thing. And with work the next morning, we all work full-time jobs. We kind of have to factor in stuff like, we need to eat, we need to sleep, we need to be sensible and not kind of have too much to drink because we got a long drive back kind of thing.
Of course.
And always I treat Paul to a McDonald's.
Oh yeah, I'm like a kid. I'm gonna have my Happy Meal. Like
his reward for playing a good show is a McDonald's, but it makes the car smell.
But it's quite nice as well. I mean, it's like that sort of checkpoint when you're driving back from the gig, and I can't remember what road it is when we're coming up from Newark, but we're kind of you see that golden arches just over the horizon. Yay! You just kind of associate it with home if you don't.
The Lord.
I mean, to be fair,
I love Big Macs. To be honest with you, I'm a Big Mac fan.
It's double quarter pound for it. You're a big tasty man, aren't you?
I'm a big tasty man.
Yeah, like the Big Tasty.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
I quite like the I don't know how different US McDonald's and UK McDonald's are. Like if you go into Europe or if you go anywhere else in the world, all McDonald's are slightly different. They've all got something that's a bit different about them. But so we had the Philly cheesesteak here, and that was really good. I enjoyed that a lot, man.
Yeah. We
don't have that here. You
don't have it?
Yeah, never. No. Wow.
Oh man,
that sounds good.
It's good. Yeah. Hold tight. You'll get it one day. If you ever actually a McDonald's hack, if you ever do go to anywhere else in the world, I know it sounds a little bit sort of like, no, I want to, you want to look at the cuisine of the culture without going to a McDonald's. But actually, most countries in Europe will have something a bit different about their McDonald's. Like in the Netherlands, they have like a very specific burger that you can only get in the Netherlands, and the same in France, and the same throughout.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Royale with cheese.
Yeah.
Royale with cheese.
Oh, that's so funny. So do you feel the dynamics of the band has changed throughout the years?
I think when we started, it's one of those things where you kind of acquire more money to buy more equipment, if you know what I mean, and kind of like experiment with like other sounds and like effects pedals and things. And I think originally we just kind of thought we can kind of manage dynamics by going loud, quiet. But then literally we've kind of looked at like sort of like the type of loud that we're making. I know that sounds silly, but like you can kind of like bypass it between like fuzz and distortion, that sort of thing. And then kind of like sometimes there might be mistakes made during rehearsals, and Rob would be like, I like that, keep it. And I'm like, all right, I don't know what I did, but I'll try and do it again. Like I think sometimes it translates well live as well. Sometimes you see people holding their ears and being like, don't like that. But I don't think we've ever kind of got to a point where we've watched somebody and thought, oh, you know what? Like, I'm not saying we are not crowd pleasers, if you know what I mean. But I know sometimes if it feels right to us, we'll still keep it in. We won't take anything out. And it's just part of our identity. And I think that's what's been the evolution from being really short sets of just bursts of noise to what the hell was that, to long bursts of noise to what the hell was that and why is it still going? Like
that's funny.
In terms of personal dynamics and the sort of way we interact with each other, I feel as though Paul, even though Paul is very much his band, he is the founder and the leader of the band. again, a reason why he's great to work with is because he is totally happy for a three-way split when it comes to creativity, when it comes to ideas. There's no sort of dictatorship amongst us in the band. It is it's very much a democracy when it comes to what I can't get my words out. Very much a democracy when it comes to the decisions we make and the paths we take.
Yeah, it has to be, I think, as well. Yeah.
So
I mean,
Paul's
if you're
not the
doing
Godfather. Paul's not the Godfather.
I mean, Paul too. We'll tell Paul that he's the Godfather. We'll give him a white cat to pet, and he's happy.
I'm more Johnny Fontaine. I'm more Johnny Fontaine, to be fair. Like, you know,
I'll give you that with your olive oil voice.
I was going to say my olive oil voice and my legion of female fans that don't exist. You know, maybe I'm Johnny Fontaine. I don't know if you've read The Godfather or seen the films, but you know that point when he's like had a burnout, he's in this Las Vegas hotel looking for his fifth comeback. That's what Bat Flattery is like. You know, when the other bands have been like happened, and now it's just like, oh god, need to call up Rob. I need a favour from the Rob Father. You know,
the Rob Father. I like that. I'll tell you that.
So do you guys have a signature song that kind of defines your band?
I think originally it was probably Clap City. It's maybe coming more towards being Only Barber Mask now. Those two, I would say. Clap City from the olden days, and Only Barber Mask from the new stuff that we're doing now.
I think it's quite funny as well because now they're two songs which are interchangeable between the first part, but like the start of the set and the end of the set. So like sometimes, depending on how we're feeling, we'll kind of switch it around. So we'll play Clap City first, or you know, like very close in like the start of the set, and then like literally we'll play Only Barber like Mask last, and then we'll switch it around. And sometimes people like it's quite nice in a way to get to that point if you're watching, and that you know, like literally they have that sort of mellows moment of when we're going to get to the fireworks factory. Like they're kind of like sat there going, when are they going to play Clap City? Oh, when's it gonna happen? They're playing it now. Like literally, it's quite nice. And I've always been in a band where I've always been like sort of an audience member where you go and see a band and it's great that they're playing this song, but I really wanted to play this one. And then sometimes it'll really irk me that they didn't play that particular song. And I have met bands, but I've always been like the kind of the big obscure B-side guy, if you know what I mean, or like and I've been like literally like sometimes you see a band and you hound them and they go, I can't play that song anymore. I don't know. I don't think I even remember writing that song, you know, like so I think Clap City and Only Barber Mask probably are two.
It's quite a trip actually when because we for a while now we've been playing shows where people have been singing our songs back to us, which is crazy to feel.
That's awesome.
Crazy to see, It sounds really corny, but it is a really unique feeling. It's a really, really good feeling. It does affirm you as a musician that actually maybe you're doing something that's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good, man. Good for you guys. So you guys have a pretty good local following.
Yeah, I'd say so. I feel really happy with our local following at the minute.
It's quite nice as well.
We've got a good amount of shows and all that. You guys play a lot.
Yeah. We play a fair bit.
Sorry, Paul.
We're
no, don't worry. No, it's fine. No, don't worry.
Put a pin in it. We're all right. We're organized. We're organising a tour for around September of 2025, a UK tour. We're probably going to look at playing Ireland as well, and then I guess long-term plan. I don't want to plan too far ahead in case because things always come up. But we would like to get overseas as well. So we'd like to get to Europe. We'd like to get over to the States if we can. If we'd go down well there, it's obviously a big cost factor because we're not signed bandits. We are. Gotcha. I'm not ashamed to say we're as DIY as you get. We record our own music. We film and edit our own videos.
You can see where I've run out of money to put soundproofing across the roof of my garage. So like literally there's soundproofing towards the left, and as you can see that's where I ran out of money. And also I'm not very tall as well, so I can't reach up put the soundproofing on. So, like as you say, I think there's just limitations, isn't it? You know, like. But I think to be fair as well, I don't know if you find this, Rob, but I've kind of find sometimes that you can find a bit of fun in limitations, like based on what you can do. Like, so if you can only like tour, you know, like a certain stretch of the country, you know, you don't do it boringly and just stick to like the usual you know, cities and things like that. You know,
Gotcha.
you kind of like go to interesting places or go to a place where you want to go. We went to it was a place there where people had recommended a lot of people have recommended, and we thought 6 hour drive nearly. It's a bit of a jaunt, but we ended up going. We went to it was at Percy's in Whitchurch,
Yeah.
and we went and like literally it was another side. It was like from east to west on the side of the country, almost bordering Wales. And we went and it was just this small cafe in a town, and we thought this is going to be a bit weird, you know, like local venues, going to be just like one person in there. It was amazing, wasn't it? It was like painted like day glow. The best way I can describe it. Do you ever remember Batman Forever?
Yes.
Like the film Batman Forever. Yeah. Do you remember that scene when but like Robin goes down the like he counts as one of the gangs and they've got like all day glow paints and things like that.
Okay.
And like the fighter, yeah, and the Offspring's playing in the background. Like literally, that's basically what it was like. And we went and we ended up playing and we thought this is amazing. And we've already we've got a date for next year, haven't we?
Yeah. It's actually our first date of 2025. We're going back there.
And that's just the
awesome.
adventure of it, isn't it? I mean, yeah.
No, it's good fun. And there are a lot of good venues in the UK.
Awesome. What traditions and rituals of the punk scene, of the post-punk scene, would you hate to see leave?
That's a good question.
Do you want to basically, another way of looking at it? What traditions would you like to keep?
I guess it's a very brutally honest genre.
Yeah.
There's no lying in any post-punk track. There's people's bare honesty and bare emotion, which I think is what one of the founding and most important parts of it. From an early post-punk to now, it is. Whether it's raw, whether it's minimalist, whether it's whatever the sound is, there's the theme for post-punk, post-hardcore is it's kind of brutal honesty.
I think as well, I think it's the post part for me. I know that sounds really silly, keeping it post in the sense of constantly innovating. You know, like I always kind of think to myself, like when you kind of look back at the days of like, you know, the first post-punk bands and like the no wave bands, like, you know, if you tell a person at a Sex Pistols concert that there's got to be a band called Swans in the future, and they're just going to sound, you know, that's only going to be in a few years' time, they're going to lose their mind. And, you know, you do the same with like, you know, you go back a bit, you got Joy Division, you know, and then you go, you know, like if you kind of like took like someone and said, oh, this new sound's going to come around the corner, you know, have a think about this. It's like that sort of sense of inspiration where people have kind of taken the ball and ran with it. Like I'm trying to think of the best example. I mean, everybody. This is the thing. I mean, in the UK, there was a point where every band was calling themselves a post-punk band, and it was mostly like they were just sort of picking up a guitar and playing what sounded like people were doing like 10 years ago, like the band Orange Juice, like in like the 80s, there was a band called Franz Ferdinand who sort of took that music, like Orange Juice, and played, and like, you know, it's good music at the time, but does it need to be repeated? You know what I mean? Like, and that sort of thing, and like, there was it got almost like kind of parodied and it became like a bit of a parody, whereas like a little bit now, people have started to say, take the post-punk thing and think, right, we're going to do this, as you said, like incorporating like metal with it, incorporating, you know, like punk, electronica, that sort of thing. So it's always needs to be constantly moving and constantly evolving, you know. I think, I don't know if you know that much about it, but you know, sort of, you always kind of want to listen to that music where, are you a parent, by the way, can I just ask, or do you have children, or?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Do you
I have a 25-year-old son.
Oh yeah. Do you have like music that like they might listen to that kind of like, that, for the better word, pisses you off a little bit? Do you have that kind of sort of music? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
there was it was a tragic loss of an artist called Sophie, a transgender artist who died a couple of years ago, and her stuff was absolutely amazing. It was like an absolute just barrage of noise, and you listen to it and you're thinking, yeah, if I was 14, I'd play this to my parents and I'd just be going, what is this? It's just noise, like, and you just kind of listen to that sort of thing, and you're thinking, I mean, sadly with her, she's unfortunately, it's kind of the cycle of art's come to like has closed on her chapter, if you know what I mean. But you just kind of wish that somebody's listening to that and thinking, yeah, I'm going to make something that's going to take that further, and
Gotcha.
I think it can still be done, like people say, oh well, it died out. Best example, the new Not Loose performance with Poppy.
Okay, I've not seen it, but
just to let you guys know, we're almost close. We're less than a minute.
Sorry. Yeah.
So anybody, I mean, honestly, I really do appreciate you guys being here, and you guys have some wonderful stuff to say. And honestly, I would love to have you guys back in 2025. And when do you guys have a new album coming out?
We're starting recording in January.
Okay,
and it will be.
How's it working now?
It works brilliant.
Now we've taken our headphones off and we're using the speaker. Is that going to affect your sound too much?
Nope, it's brilliant. It's wonderful.
Okay.
That's great. It's called raw dogging in England.
Is it? Oh,
yeah. We're raw dogging. Right. Don't Google that.
Okay. So you said your new album, you plan on it coming out in January, or you're working on it in January?
No. We're starting to record drums, I think the 2nd of January. So straight after the new year.
Okay.
We've got studio booked and drummer ready to go. We're gonna take our time with it. It will come out. It's gonna be a combination of re-recorded old tracks, because they're ones that we play quite differently now that we've got different drummers and a couple of years have moved on, and we just really want a sort of better quality recording of some of the old tracks that we've got. Some probably the last couple of singles we released might be on there. So Kalashnikov and Only Barber Mask. And some new stuff that's not been heard yet. So that should be out probably around the middle, sort of the third quarter of next year, I expect.
Great. So what's kind of your process of songwriting? Since Paul, you're the one that does most of the songwriting. So what's your strategy when it comes about songwriting?
I'll be honest, a lot of the time I'll have an idea and I'll probably might sit on it for up to a week or sometimes a year. Like it could be a case where like there's certain, like there was, I wouldn't say like we started rehearsing. We had the 3 or 4 songs that we had to start with: Liver Punch, Hope is Hypocrisy, and Claps It a Year, The Coward. And we had those songs, and then there was a big gap between us not being allowed to meet with like quarantine processes in like what we called lockdown in the UK, where like with COVID nobody could meet and no one could really meet up and rehearse. That, I will be honest, was a bit of a blessing from a songwriting perspective, because you can literally spend your time refining songs before presenting them. Whereas now it's a bit more like we've got an idea, let's jam it out. But on the positive of that, we can actually just sit, we can jam things out, and it's more collaborative now. Whereas originally it was just me writing demos, writing like drum parts and things like that, and it's been very rigid in my head. Now we can kind of say, well, I've got this idea, and sometimes we can we might start practice with an idea of how I sound it in my head. Come the end of the practice, it doesn't really sound exactly what it sounded like in my head, but it sounds better, and it sounds formulated by human beings, if you know what I mean, because it's rehearsed and it's practiced. And so I think a lot of the time, I mean, and that's another thing as well. Sometimes you can write amazing poetic lyrics, but if it doesn't fit the music, then it's kind of redundant, really. You can't really do much with it,
exactly.
You can't perform things that you can't perform,
because you're not wanting to go out of your genre, right?
I don't know. I mean, like, what do you feel about that? Like going out of the genre? Not exactly. I mean, Rob is pretty good at rap, but
I mean,
does he
I'm not
enjoy
saying that you're gonna next week start a country band, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, I mean, do you explore other avenues?
It's a tricky one because obviously we do have quite a definitive sound now. We've been going for long enough to have our own, I would dare say, unique sound. But all it's me and Paul, so I'll speak of me and Paul without there being a third member currently. We've got such a vast array of influences from many different genres, from our parents' music to what we grew up to listening to totally out there stuff that we might play for each other and go, oh, I don't really like that. There's a huge amount of influence coming into the music that we do write. It can be quite difficult to not, I guess, branch out and play stuff that's a bit off kilter. With our most recent drummer who's left, he was born and raised and lived most of his life in Bulgaria. So he had a lot of he had a lot of Bulgarian folk influences, a lot of Bulgarian hardcore influences from more contemporary Bulgarian the Bulgarian alternative scene. We learned a lot from him, and it was interesting because he didn't know a lot of the bands that we grew up with. We didn't know most of the bands that he grew up with, so we had a big meeting of minds when it came to that. Really, our new drummer is a massive prog rock fan. So we're going to have a different.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. But we're gonna have a big array of influences there. The band that I was in before this was the mathcore band, kind of a Dillinger Escape Plan worship kind of thing. Okay. So it can be quite difficult for me sometimes to kind of tone it down and calm down and not go crazy with some bonkers time